Hello everybody and welcome to another video. We are continuing on with my birthday week marathon where I'm covering a series of videos from like the very early 90s when I was about 11 years old that formed my taste in heavy metal music. Now, like when I was about 11 years old, just as I was starting high school or secondary school, me and my older brother, we used to watch Headbangers Ball. He would record Headbangers Ball off the TV on a Sunday evening, and throughout the week we'd watch the music videos from the show before we went to school. And this is what sort of formed and moulded my taste in heavy metal music. This is when I really started following and listening to heavy metal music. You know, obviously before then I'd heard music from the likes of Black Sabbath and like Judas Priest and stuff like that, but it was around this time that I really started getting into heavy metal music. So for the week of my birthday, I thought I'd look back at the music that sort of inspired me, as it were. And today we're going to be looking at one of the bands that possibly inspired me the most. We're looking at Carcass. Now, I have covered Carcass on this channel before, but this track there, we're going to be looking at Corporal Jigsore Quandry, which I believe was the first music video for Carcass I ever saw. And there was something about their style which was so different from every other piece of music that I'd heard at the time. You know, the vocal style especially was quite different. And of course, those who may have seen earlier videos I've done, Jeff Walker was the main influence behind my own vocal style when I first started singing in a metal band. When I joined Repulsive Vision, I was specifically asked to do Carcass style vocals. And, you know, that was possibly the best compliment I ever got, was when I did a live show once, and this guy walked up to me and he said, "You know what, you sound just like Jeff Walker." And that was the best thing anybody had ever said to me. I was absolutely ecstatic in that moment. So, you know, this band had a very heavy influence on my taste in music and my own personal performance in music. Now, one thing I love about Carcass is their lyrics. I mean, you read through the lyrics to this track, they sound so complicated because they use such unusual words that it's just pure genius the way they write it. So, yeah, we're going to look at Carcass Corporal Jigsore Quandry, one of my absolute favourites. And, yeah, let's dive into it, shall we? So, Corporal Jigsore Quandry by Carcass. God, I love that song. It's so good. And this is the thing. When I first heard this track, it was unlike anything I ever heard. I mean, just that opening drum riff, that iconic double bass pedal bit, was just amazing. And then in comes that guitar riff. It was just fucking beautiful. You know, I absolutely love this track. Like I said, this is the track that inspired my vocal performance. You know, obviously there's other tracks that like really come to mind when you listen to Carcass, things like Heartwork, No Love Lost, and then you look at their much earlier stuff. You know, this band was so influential. You know, this was basically the start of grindcore. They are considered like the grandfathers of grindcore, you know. But this track was just so iconic. From the moment I heard it, I was like, fucking yes, I love this, you know. And as with a lot of their music, obviously, this song was about dead bodies, dismemberment, that sort of thing. And I don't put this together with things the likes of Hypocrisy and, you know, excuse me, that sort of thing, you know, because you had all these songs about, you know, murder and, like, you know, all this sort of evil, cruel, horrible stuff. But I don't put this together with that, because whilst it is indeed talking about dead bodies and, you know, dismemberment and stuff like that, it's done in a very different way. You know, this is looked at from a medical standpoint, basically, you know, and the way it's worded, you know, they're not just talking about bludgeoning people and ripping them apart and then bathing in their blood sort of thing. And I mean, it's always been a consistent theme throughout pretty much all of their music. All of their songs are very medically based, if that makes sense. Rather than just talking about gloriously butchering things, they're talking about everything from a very medical sort of perspective, which was something very different and interesting to me. And like I said, I like the language they used. I mean, the album itself just had the most marvellous name, Necrotis and Discanting the Insalubrious. It was just, you know, you look at those words and you think, what the fuck does that mean? But then you sort of look into it and, you know, you realise it's very clever medical terms for certain things. I couldn't tell you right now what it means. I do know what it means, I just cannot remember for the life of me. And it's like the way the songs are written, you know, it's like, who in the world would think of using these words in a song? You know, you look at the opening lines, it says, excised and anatomized, deviscerated dysentery, the torso diverged with pride, deftly amputated, evulsed limbs now defunct, the trunk imbrued, tatty stumps used as lugs, for a conjuring puzzle so quaint, head and body decollate, a heaving mass so quiescent. Who speaks like that? Who writes songs like that? Who puts those words into songs, you know? It was something completely unique to me, because, you know, these aren't everyday words that you come across, but they are just brilliant words for describing something accurately, but not in a sort of sloppy, murderous kind of way, if that makes sense. You know, rather than just saying severed limbs and mashed to a pulp, you know, excised and anatomized, you know, that's basically cut up and made into very small pieces. Deviscerated disarray, you know, it's all, you know, disarray, it's all over the bloody place. You know, the torso diverged with pride, so the torso taken apart with great joy and glee. You know, it's a very medical way of saying, you know, chopping up bodies and enjoying it, you know. Deftly amputated, so the body's been cut up, but with a very skilled hand, you know, not just like taking a chainsaw to it and just hacking it to pieces. This is done with skill. Evulsed limbs now defunct. Evulsed, you know, basically means removed. You know, limbs removed are now useless. Is basically what that line means. But it's been knocked down into just 4 words. Evulsed limbs now defunct, rather than saying the arms have been removed and now they're useless. It's like, yeah. The trunk imbrued, tatty stumps used as lugs. So the trunk imbrued, you know, it's all stained and covered in gore. Tatty stumps used as lugs, so like where the arms and legs used to be connected, you know, they're now the way that, you know, you move the thing around. A Chondrin puzzle, so quaint. Who uses the word chondrin? You know, I believe that's to do with cartilage. I believe it's like the thing that makes up the matrix of cartilage. You know, head and body decollate. Who uses that word to say the head and body have been separated, the body has been decapitated? No, let's use the word decollate. What a great way of saying it. And a heaving mass so quiescent, you know, a massive bloody tissue, but it's all quiet and sort of, you know, it's got no life or, you know, movement in it. It's just laying there silently, ready to be examined. Scattered and scrambled, your teasement grows. A bloody caricature to make whole. A squirming gristly jigsaw, detrital fragments fit so snug that missing piece will leave you stumped. Totally disassembled, nicely sliced and diced. A human being this once resembled. A real cranium teaser, carved from flesh and bone. So mystifying. So, you know, scattered and scrambled, your teasement grows, because with morticians, you know, if they find a dead body chopped into small pieces, they have to sort of put it back together. This actually makes me think of an NCIS episode called The Meat Puzzle, where they found, I think it was 2 or 3 dead bodies all cut up into small pieces, and they had to put them back together. And this continued over several episodes because it was so difficult. And, you know, this immediately makes me think of that episode of the show, even though this song came out like a long time ago, a long time before NCIS. But it's that sort of thing, you know. They find a body, they've got to put it all together to make sure that everything's accounted for, to make sure there's nothing missing. So, you know, scattered and scrambled, your teasement grows. So it's like you found all these pieces, you got to put them together, and you're sitting there scratching your head, going, now where does that bit go? You know, is that actually part of this body, or does it belong to another one? You know, a bloody caricature to make whole. So, you know, a caricature, a sort of image of who this person used to be. A squirming gristly jigsaw, detrital fragments fit so snug, so all the little pieces of detritus, or like the organs and stuff, you know, they all fit nicely back together. The missing piece will leave you stumped. I just like that line. I don't know why, I think it's funny. You know, it's like I could put it back together, but what's supposed to go there, sort of thing. Totally disassembled, nicely sliced and diced. A human being this once resembled. A real cranium teaser carved from flesh and bone, you know, so you're sitting there going, you know. So mystifying. It carries on. Battered and diffused with placating blows, a human jigsaw to make whole, a sequacious pattern which once fitted so snug, joining together each dubious lump, ravaged disassembly, neatly cubed and diced, a cold mannequin once reassembled, astute brain teaser, incorporate flesh and bone, so mortifying. So again, you know, battered and diffused with placating blows, so this thing, you know, it's been beaten, you know, the person who's done this has like beaten the body, you know, just to sort of placate themselves, to sort of get their anger out on this body or whatever, you know. Again, this is very medical ways of saying somebody basically beat the body up and then tore it to pieces, you know. It's such an interesting way of looking at it. And again, it goes back into the human jigsaw to make whole, you know, joining together each dubious lump, you know, neatly cubed and diced, a cold mannequin once reassembled. So again, it's like almost a facsimile of who the person used to be, you know. So you're putting it back together like mannequins, you know, because they come in pieces generally, you know, and that sort of thing. And then it goes, an incessant game methodically made, with each cumulative piecing of compensated meat. You know, so an incessant game, it's, you keep on at it, and it's always there because you're always thinking about it, and you know, you've got to keep on at it because it's really sort of bugging. It's like, how does this go together? Does it go together? Is there more than one person here? You know, methodically made, you know, putting it together piece by piece and that sort of thing. And compensated, if I remember correctly, it means sort of non-functioning, obsolete, useless sort of thing. And really, if you think about it, you know, the remains of a body is pretty much useless meat now. You know, it's got no function anymore. You know, it's, yeah. Anyway, it carries on. Bimanual reconstruction, eldritch problem complete, a convened effigy, a pathological toy, each chunk rigorously, intermortis locking, as you pathogenically rot. Such a perplexing task, to fit the remains in a casket, igneous mass so quiescent. Now, I don't know what igneous means, but I'm guessing it's probably useless or rotting or something like that. And then it goes back to an incessant game, methodically made, with each cumulative piece of compensated meat. You know, and it's just such a great song. And like I say, I love the language that was used in it. You know, it isn't just like one of these basic, let's just say, horrible, mindless, bloody, gory things. You know, as I've mentioned many times, they've approached it from a very medical perspective, which they've done with pretty much every other song they've ever written. I mean, you look at some of the other songs they've written, like Oxidized Razor Masticator. You know, that's just basically saying chewing rusty razor blades. But they had to do it in such a, you know, such a medical way, clinical way, you know, with the language that they used. You know, it's one of the things I just love about this band. And, you know, to use that kind of language in a song and be able to make it make sense, you know, it's better than just saying, you know, look at the body tangled in gore, or hammer smashed face, or, you know, open her up and I pull her guts out sort of thing. You know, rather than saying stuff like that, they've gone for this sort of perspective. And it's something that I really like the band for. And of course, like I said, they were a heavy influence on my taste in music and my personal performance in music. And, you know, it's they are just one of my favourite bands. And of course, they're British and they come from Liverpool. I almost had a chance to play support for them once, long time ago, but unfortunately that never actually came to fruition. And it's something that I would have really loved. You know, I'd love to meet these guys, you know, because, like I said, a very heavy influence on my life. But yeah, as you can tell, very passionate about this band. One of my absolute favourites. But what more can I say? So I'll leave it like that. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I am doing a marathon of videos, hopefully 14. Copyrights, you know, allowing. So far I've been lucky and had no problems, but, you know, you never know. As I've also mentioned, you know, a lot of these videos, or all of the videos, are from the very early 90s, like 1991 to 1993. So the quality of the video is not necessarily very good, but it's the music that we're here for. So yeah, join me for the rest of the week to see more of the old videos that shaped my taste in music. But for now, I'm going to leave that as it is. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like, maybe consider even subscribing if you're not already, because that would help me out considerably. But that's all I can say, so thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.